Hi guys, it's me Kevin, and guess what? The footy is coming back this weekend. So, today I'm going to be tipping the first week back, or round 2 of the 2020 AFL season, which is an abridged season. And there's only really 5 rounds at the moment, but whatever, footy's back. So, yeah, let's get into the tipping. Actually, before I want to get into the tipping, I know I've been quite inactive from the channel during the shutdown, mainly because of school commitments and other things going on. But now that the AFL season's on, and I'm going to be uploading every week, at least the tipping videos. I might not upload other content, but definitely tipping videos will be up at least once a week. So, yeah, let's get into the video. On Thursday night at the MCG to kick off round 2, and the restart for the AFL, Collingwood versus Richmond. Choke there. Do like what all Collingwood people do, choke. I'm tipping Richmond. Yes, Collingwood choke again. Why I'm tipping Richmond is just because I think they're the better team. Collingwood, they seem to be having some injury issues at the moment with Adams, and there's something happening with DeGoey as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I haven't heard the most positive news from Collingwood. I think there's some injury issues going there. I think Richmond are relatively healthy, and it's going to be a blockbuster nonetheless. It's 2 sides, probably the best 2 sides in the competition almost, facing off at the MCG, and I think it's going to be a blockbuster, and I think Richmond, just because they're the better team and seem to be the healthier of the 2, will win just. I'm going to tip 5 points. Friday night, Geelong versus Hawthorn at Cardinia Park. I would have tipped Hawthorn if it was at the MCG, but it's a skinny ground, Geelong's home ground, so I'm tipping Geelong instead. Maybe because it's a skinny home ground. Hawthorn haven't been down there in 15 years. I doubt Alistair Clarkson has been down there at all. Oh no, maybe in his first season, probably. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. No crowd, but there's a skinny ground, so I think Geelong will win just. I think it's going to be a relatively close game because I think Hawthorn are going to be the better side, but they won't have the tactics on the day, and that's why I think Geelong will win. Although Hawthorn could win because, well, you know who's the coach of that side, so maybe. But I'm going to say Geelong for now. Saturday afternoon at the Gabba, Brisbane versus Fremantle. Brisbane, obviously the higher quality side of the 2. It's at the Gabba. No crowds, but I just think Brisbane will be too strong for Fremantle. Although Fremantle, I think, will be alright because they do get some players back that were missing for their round 1 clash against Essendon. They only lost by 1 goal. But nonetheless, they're playing a relatively full-strength Brisbane side. And I think the better of the 2 teams, I think the Lions will win. Saturday twilight at Marvel Stadium, Carlton versus Melbourne is going to be an interesting game. I've been like back and forth on this game. Who should I tip? On one hand, Carlton, you think they're going to improve, and they were definitely the better, I wouldn't say better, but they were definitely playing some decent football in the second half against Richmond, but then again, you didn't actually win the game, so you can't really say that. Although, yes, there were some positive signs in that second half against Richmond, but at the same time, Melbourne are the better team of the 2. So, I guess I'll tip Melbourne because they're the better team of the 2, I guess. Yeah, I really don't know what to say about that game. I think it's going to be a tight game. But I just think Melbourne, if they get their full strength back and if they use if they make use of their full team, then I think Melbourne will be able to beat Carlton. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide, the South Australian showdown, in front of 0 fans. What a very disappointing turnout, considering it's a very footy-mad state. But anyway, I think Port Adelaide will absolutely thrash the Crows. I can't see much from Adelaide this year. I don't think they're going to play all that well at all this year. They're too young of a side, second most inexperienced list. And Port Adelaide, they absolutely thrashed the Suns. I think they're going to thrash the Crows as well, especially that it's their 150th. So That's another incentive for Port Adelaide to win. Or should I say the Port Adelaide Magpies? Eddie Maguire, what do you react to that? For all the complaining made by West Coast fans that the AFL acts unfair towards them, well, the Eagles have finally gotten something their way. A free win to kick off the 2020 campaign. Look, to be honest, you would have thought that Gold Coast would have been playing their most spirited football in round 1. And yet, what did they dish up that round? They got flogged by 47 points and only scored 29. Against the Port Adelaide side who... they're alright, but I'm not going to say they're the greatest team by any means. Now, at the same ground, they come up against the Eagles, who won the premiership 2 years ago, who at their best are a very scary team. And I think the Eagles are going to absolutely flog Gold Coast, if round 1 is any indication. On Sunday afternoon, GWS versus North Melbourne at Spotless Stadium. It's actually one of the quirky things. GWS play 2 straight games to start off the season at Spotless. That hasn't been done since 2015. Not them, I'm talking about any team playing 2 straight home games. But anyway, look, North Melbourne have to travel to Sydney on the day, so that's going to count against them. GWS, they're one of the strongest sides in the competition, and at home against a North Melbourne side who has had to travel on the day, I think GWS will win easily. And on Sunday afternoon at the SCG, Sydney versus Essendon. Likewise with North Melbourne, I think Essendon will lose, considering that they have to fly up to Sydney on the same day. Although they get an extra couple of hours compared to North Melbourne, so they're probably not going to be in as bad of a situation as the Roos are. But I think given it's at the SCG, and given that Essendon have not won in Sydney for about, 10 years, I think Sydney will be able to win. Even though I think Essendon are the better side, it's going to be a tight game, but I just think Sydney, they're going to do what they usually do every year against Essendon and win at the SCG. And on Sunday Sunday night actually, on Sunday night at Marvel Stadium, St Kilda versus the Western Bulldogs. 2 sides that had disappointing round 1 matches for different reasons. I do think the Bulldogs will win. Their midfield is too strong with the likes of Bontempelli, Dunkley and McRae. They seem to have a really strong team that could beat most teams on the day, really. St Kilda, they're still kind of young and unproven in my opinion. So I think the Western Bulldogs will outclass St Kilda to finish off the comeback round. So to recap the tips, I'm tipping Richmond, Geelong, Brisbane, Melbourne, West Coast, Port Adelaide, GWS, Sydney, and the Western Bulldogs. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. Please comment who you think will win down below and what you think of this video. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel for weekly tipping episodes. And I'll see you next week. Bye.